nightmare room. This is where we're sleeping tonight. This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we explore one of the most haunted places in the world as part of our ongoing investigation to answer the question, are ghosts real? Right now we are sitting in the Queen Salon of undoubtedly the creepiest boat in the world. Allow me to introduce you to the Queen Mary.
Bit rude to call it the creepiest boat in the world.
I mean, that's not an unfair statement, would you say, right?
It's a marvel. It's a marvel.
Apparently, this boat is 2 times the size of the Titanic.
2 times?
2 times.
Titanic's tiny. That's not true.
It's true. All you need to know is I was here about 10 years ago, and I said I'd never come back, and, well, here I am.
You're not a man of your word.
You know, I will say this is a beautiful sunset, though. If there's one thing I could take solace in today.
It's that nice sunset. Enjoy it, Ryan. It's the last one you're ever going to see.
Well, I'm back. That is that.
Do you feel like it remembers you?
I certainly hope not after what I did last time I was here.
What did you do?
You'll find out.
You mean that you think there's something about Mary?
Indeed, yeah, that's exactly.
She might be a little bit enchanted.
Yeah, I think so. You know, when things are so pristine and beautiful like this, but vacant, there is something very unsettling to it. I don't know what it is.
What do you find unsettling about this?
Lots of things. That being said, let's get into the history of this boat. Named after Britain's actual Queen Mary, the Queen Mary was completed in the 1930s and embarked on its inaugural voyage on May 27, 1936 from Southampton, England. The boat served as the new benchmark for luxury, containing 2 cocktail bars, 2 swimming pools, 5 dining areas and lounges, a grand ballroom, and much more. However, all that luxury would soon go to waste during World War II, when the ship was repurposed as a transportation vessel for troops and prisoners of war, and was appropriately painted gray. In fact, the ship was so much faster than enemy U-boats that it earned the nickname the Gray Ghost.
Did they paint it gray specifically for the war?
You don't think the Gray Ghost is a pretty cool nickname?
It is a pretty badass name.
Captain the Gray Ghost. Tell that story in a bar.
Oh, my ship? Well, she's called the Grey Ghost.
The ship was estimated to have carried over 800,000 servicemen throughout the war. In 1947, the ship returned to the Queen Mary status, and in 1965, it was sold to the city of Long Beach in California, where it is now docked permanently. Now that we've established the boat's history, let's take a second to revisit my own personal history with this ship.
Oh, God.
I've told Shane this story before, but about 10 years ago when I was it 10 years ago?
This is riveting.
When I was 17 years old, I visited this ship with a couple friends. I was really interested in the paranormal, but didn't believe it was a real thing. Never thought I'd be back in this room. This was my ghost father. After taunting the ghosts to show themselves and coming up empty again, I returned disappointed to my hotel room on the boat, cabin B484. Oh boy. It hasn't changed one bit. It's exactly the same.
Which bed were you on?
I was sleeping right here.
On this one?
I was sleeping on the left side towards the wall.
You were hanging out. This looks like a Best Western.
That night when I slept, I was repeatedly poked in the face, but I was too scared to open my eyes, and when I finally did to confront the person I was sleeping next to, my friend Elvin, I discovered to my horror that he was actually fast asleep and snoring. I thought maybe...
Ain't that like Elvin?
Yeah, maybe nothing, maybe it was nothing, so I tried to push through it. I eventually did fall asleep. The next morning I went into the bathroom. My friend Casey saw the sink turn on, so we set up a camera to try and catch that. So when we set up the camera, we actually caught, if you look in the footage at the left corner, there's a bag with toothpaste on top of it.
You'll never forget that plastic Ziploc bag.
Fuck you.
I'm getting chills seeing the actual toothbrush that has been so
Okay, see, look it, you can see it.
It already happened?
Yeah, it already happened.
Not boding well, considering I didn't even catch
You were
it.
focusing on the wrong side of the screen.
Yeah, there's definitely a force at play there, though.
And what is that?
Gravity.
Play that again.
See it again.
Okay, you gotta admit, that looks weird. No?
It really doesn't.
So rewind it again.
It happens at the exact same time that you throw your shit on the counter.
There's always something. Look at the bag, how it moves. It's like...
Yeah, because there's toothpaste on it.
There's like a jitter. Watch.
Bags are stiff.
That's a pretty firm movement. It almost looks like someone's puppeteering it with a strip.
Right, it's a haunted bag.
You can't see that it flung it a little bit.
This toothpaste falls straight down.
It was up and down.
Straight down.
Up and down.
Straight down.
No, up and down. Before that toothpaste hit the floor, I didn't believe in ghosts. I thought this was all BS. But what I saw in that bathroom changed me into the man that you see today. A firm believer in ghosts and the paranormal. I've never doubted it again, and I swore I would never return to this ship, and yet here I sit like a freaking idiot. So
I've told you numerous times that I would love to see something like that. If I just get one experience like that with definitive proof, maybe tonight's the night, I'm feeling lucky.
that being said, let's explore some of the paranormally active areas of the ship in my return to the Queen Mary. There are quite a few documented deaths that occurred on the Queen Mary, and numerous more reported ones, so let's revisit a couple. In 1936, Sir Edgar Britton, the first captain of the Queen Mary, died of a stroke in his cabin. In 1949, Senior Second Officer William Stark accidentally drank laundry detergent stored in a gin bottle, thereby poisoning himself to death.
Who's storing that in a gin bottle, though?
Apparently, the captain at the time had a gin bottle in his room, and he said, you know, you've been doing a good job today. Go to my room, pour yourself a drink. He failed to mention there was acid, or I've also heard it was detergent.
This doesn't taste like, this is burning my tongue. I better swallow it. You imagine him just a minute after the guy left the room being like,
Oh shit, I didn't drink the other bottle with the X's on it.
oh, darn it.
By the way, Shane, I have a bottle of whiskey in the room for you if you want to go take a sip of it.
Let me go get
go.
it.
However, the most unfortunate deaths all occurred at one time. As I had mentioned before, the Queen Mary served as a transportation vessel during World War II. On October 2nd, 1942, the Queen Mary was being escorted from New York to Glasgow by another much smaller vessel called the HMS Curaçao. The Curaçao was zigzagging in front of the Queen Mary to confuse potential U-boats and German bombers. However, the Queen Mary, traveling at 28.5 knots, unexpectedly caught up to the Curaçao and consequently collided with the ship, splitting the HMS Curaçao in half.
Boy, how much bigger was it? 20 times bigger?
20 times bigger.
That just fucking cut through that thing like a hot butter patty.
Butter patty?
Yeah, like a hot butter patty.
That's not what it's called. Some members of the Curaçao were killed instantly on impact, while others were thrown into the freezing water, watching as the men who remained on board sank, trapped within the remains of the vessel. And for those left in the water that didn't die from hypothermia, it is said that the current of the Queen Mary carried them in, chopping them up in the propeller.
Ugh.
That's all you gotta say about that?
Boats are tough, you know?
Boats are tough.
It's not an easy life, boat life.
Due to war protocol, the captain of the Queen Mary, Cyril Illingworth, was not able to stop to rescue the passengers, and they pushed forward, reporting the incident to nearby British destroyers. But by the time the British arrived, about 2 hours later, it was too late. Many had already died from hypothermia, and of the 430 crew members on board the HMS Curaçao, only 99 survived. It is said that you can hear the screams of the Curaçao passengers in the boiler room of the Queen Mary. And some claim that the bow of the ship is a hotspot due to the fact that it's where the Queen Mary made contact with the Curaçao.
Are you scared?